So, why don't I start while we pull up some questions? So if people want to just put questions in chat or ask them, I really don't mind. While we pull those ones up, I'll talk a little bit about what's coming out that's getting released. It does have some small impact on. I think it's worth talking a little bit about that, and then we can talk a bit about what's coming straight after. So the big release tomorrow has for some groups, but also on the main grid.
Oh, you're breaking
a
lot, Adam.
Oh, am I? Damn it.
Yeah.
It's Vivox. It does not like me. It happens whenever I talk too much. It seems to be just Vivox and it seems to be just me, and it's very annoying. Hopefully, let's see how it goes. All right, you just tell me when I'm breaking up and I will stop, and it should behave itself. That is something that we are working on as well. We are doing a transition to high fidelity, but we're waiting for high fidelity to work properly in the desktop viewer before we can migrate over to it. But it is something that we are actively working on, and I think we've got it to the point that the price point might be quite excited about. So let's talk about the release coming up, and I will talk through the other stuff. So the big thing that we are releasing here is the new network layer. The new network layer allows us to put 500 plus avatars in a scene. How much above a plus, we don't know yet, but it is a lot. We're expecting somewhere around 500 to 1,000 to start with is the upper limit of number of avatars that you can have all visible to each other all at the same time. Going forward, we're going to try and see just how much that goes up. We're going to continue doing our big network tests. I know a lot of you joined them at the start of the year and throughout last year, and that was really helpful in getting the feedback we needed to make it work. But we would like to see how much higher that can go, and that's going to start over the next coming weeks. Once we've got this release out the door, we're going to just start filing more and more testers in and see where the server breaks. That's where we want to move that in the next direction. That's the first big update. There are some side updates to that which has got benefits for everyone. It's more reliable in general. Lots of problems we've had previously with avatars not necessarily being in the same spot visible to everyone simultaneously. That goes away. A lot of other nice little fixes and cleanups and things in there. Our server administrators love it because we've been using a piece of software called Proton previously, and it's been part of our server chain, but that's been Windows only, and our ops team has absolutely hated having Windows servers around, so we get to finally light those on fire and toss them out the window, and replace them with our normal Linux infrastructure, which is great, but that's more on our side. Besides that, another big update's coming down the pipeline. There is a boatload of fixes. I don't know if you guys are able to see the statistics on our issue tracker page, but there is actually a really nice. Probably won't be able to share that, unfortunately. Here, but the total number of issues fixed in this particular release is huge. Probably bigger than any other release we've done by maybe an order of magnitude. Broadly speaking, since about November last year to today, we have resolved on the tracker, it looks like about 3,000 separate issues. Not a small number of bug fixes that have gone into this release. And that's going to continue throughout the next couple of releases. We're really trying to get on top of all the old bugs we've had. We've also been looking at revising the number of revising parts of the user interface. The part that's going to come in this next release is the new outfit window. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's a lot simpler to use. It's been actually designed by a UX person. So we have a lot of things there on the UI side as well as on cleanup. When we get into the next releases, we're going to start unlocking a few of the new functionalities that exist in the region server too. So over the next couple of releases, we're going to be switching to the new hybrid server model that makes the server a little bit more authoritative for content in the scene. Right now, it's sort of a mixed model where the client pulls some data from some locations and other locations. It'll all be unified through the region server, and that's going to make life easier for scripters because you will be able to write server scripts that manipulate content directly. You may have noticed that the server script APIs have existed for a while for a way to get access to the scene object. That's changing so that the servers will be able to be authoritative for all content, and then crypto you can write multi-user content far easier than down and dirty with networking, something that you'll be able to manipulate. And the server will have the full understanding of the scene graph. The server, that particular model also allows for far bigger scenes. I've been teasing for about 2 years now, maybe even 3 years, the concept of these mega regions that are size of hundreds of kilometers aside. Those will be coming in as well, part of this change. A lot of bits and pieces that have all been sort of waiting on this new network stack to come out the door before going out. So I've got a bunch of questions queued up here now. I'm really happy to divert off there. We will be posting full release notes for the update on the blog over the next couple of days. We're just confirming a final couple of bug fixes before it gets out. We had 3 breaking content changes we discovered at the last minute. At least 2 of those have been fixed. I believe the 3rd one is about. So as soon as those are done, we will be pushing this one out. So let's get into these questions. So there's a question about the large number of avatars in the room about lockups that happen while the items load. Yeah, this is actually an issue with the content itself, not the actual client software. We've been chasing down a bug with Unity for about 4.5 years now. Very, very long-standing bug. I have been excited and then had my hopes dashed multiple times when Unity have told me, and then it turns out that it hasn't been fixed. I just had my hopes dashed again a couple of weeks ago on this particular issue. Unity have told us that the bug fix has been done now, but it won't be hitting until Unity 20, which is going to be a while. So 2023.1 will be the release that one comes out in. So it's going to be a while before we get that one. But we've got our own workaround for this particular problem. The root problem is actually caused by shaders. The models are fine, the collision geometry and all that stuff is fine, but one of the things you can accidentally do in Unity really easily is make monstrously huge shaders. In our particular case, it's very typical for us to see 300 or 400 megabyte shaders, and they compress very well. So that 300 or 400 megabyte shader might only be a couple of kilobytes download. But when it unpacks on your computer, it has to unpack all of it. And if you've got a model that has a couple of materials, then it's actually possible for you to download 1 or 2 gig of shaders straight away. And when that gets unpacked, that has to be read by your computer. That's what causes that lag when avatars load. Something we have been addressing, we've got a set of shaders we call the light shaders that we replace the built-in ones with. And when those are used, that lag doesn't happen. We have test scenes you can use sort of check out how it is with 1,000 avatars in the scene. There's a region, I think it was Richie who made it originally, called Silly Number of People. I've suggested it before, just if you want to go check there. Go hit there and press a button and add 50 avatars to the scene, and you can go press all 20 buttons and it'll load up a full 1,000 avatars, and you can sort of see what the performance is like. Not too bad. In fact, the loading performance there is pretty good, but almost all of the content in that particular shaders that are swapped built-in ones, so it does have an impact. We will be enforcing some of these shaders universally. There will be client modes where you can enable only use these shaders, and we'll swap them by force to the ones that apply. And we're doing that particularly for mobile users because mobile users don't have the RAM available to unpack all those shaders, and the other thing is that they don't really have the processing time. So yes, there's bits and pieces coming down the pipeline there. We are doing more work on that one. We are making some other big changes to our content formats, which I hope will actually completely eradicate that whole class of issues. But that's a little bit of a further way off before I can really start talking about that one. In terms of the recommended shaders, I believe in the editor pack we shipped them. They're called Standard Light, L-I-T-E, or Shader Light. They're shipped in the editor pack, I believe, and those ones are actually highly optimized, built into the software already, so they're actually always loaded. Load a piece of content. We actually don't need to load anything new, stuff that's already. In fact, it even lowers the down. There are some downsides to those particular shaders. They're not the world's most efficient. Do a lot more runtime manipulation versus recompiling, so they're slightly slower on the performance, but we think it's a worthy trade-off that can help with. All right, so let's have a look through here. What else have we got? And please, you've got me for the next 40 minutes, so feel free to ask any questions you want. I'm just going to scroll up. There's a question of status of avatar customization for residents. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that is? Yep. Yep.
What sight means is I'm terribly vain and I am a clothes.
Fair enough. All right. So what's the question then?
I think if sight, did you have some verbiage you wanted to throw in? Oh Lord, help us. There are a wealth of issues with the avatar customization options that I see. I've had friends come in from Second Life from other platforms, and some of them don't get past their initial avatar's appearance to experience all the other great stuff Sinespace has, like, the ability to race cars without having to do stupid region crossings. And there's a lot of cool stuff that people would really enjoy here, but we are a vain people, Adam. We want to look good in our cars, and our default state is grievous unto my heart.
Yeah, so let me talk about that. I can give you a couple of updates. So at a technical level, and this is the bit that always gets me excited, but it's not the bit that I at a technical level, our avatar system is so far ahead of anyone. That is to say that we support all sorts of things like the custom morph, completely changes the avatar. We've got the ability to sort of swap out entire parts of the avatar and expose it to users. Somewhat consistent with the layering system does tattoo system in a way that lets you use Photoshop style layers.
You're breaking up.
Sorry? Oh, sorry, guys. So look, I was only sort of iterating on that the technical level. There's a lot of very cool features here. What we don't have is we don't have good base content. That's on us. The base avatar that we've got needs a tremendous amount of work. It's not the best it could be, not by a long. And it's a real shame because it undersells what the system can do. The system underneath the hood is exceptionally powerful. It can do so much more than what it does. We've been on the hunt for a lead character artist for quite some time now. We've been on the hunt for about a year and a half, trying to hire that role. We've been looking mostly in our Shanghai office, which is where we want to put this person, but it has been a bit of a difficult role to fill. We actually may have a candidate once we've got that in place, it is our intent to wrap the base avatars. We will use our morphing system to make sure that the content adapts to just like you buy.
Breaking up again, Adam.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, this happens to be when I go on monologue. I just need to stop talking, and then it fixes itself. And then when I start talking again, it's all right. So yes, we have had an avatar specialist. We are hiring one at the moment. It's been about 18 months of searching for someone. We might have someone now. Once we have that person in place, it is our intention to completely replace the avatar system. Well, not the avatar system, but the base avatar that we've got built in there. And there will be a definite focus on some high quality aesthetics. We'll probably bump the poly count as well. We've already bumped the poly count a couple of times over the years. I think once we've done that, without having to yeah, if you've got particular sliders you want, that may be something we can do faster, even still. So if there is, like, for instance, a problem with a particular set of morphs not being usable or not having certain morphs, we can add those. That part's pretty easy. We can do that today. There's no real cost to us for doing so, other than a little bit of an artist's time. I'm perfectly happy to. Now, there's another question here about click to sit anywhere on the floor. That we can do. That we actually should be able to do. It's not terribly complex for us to do. So I don't know why we don't do it. Yes, someone please throw that in the issue tracker, and I will prioritize it. It would probably not be terribly hard to add, other than we need to get animations made. Besides that, though, that would be just another avatar state, similar to how we do sort of like crawling and we would just add a new one for eating. Got it? Alright, 7386. I will have one, and I will maybe do my magic bump. 7386. Yep, I see it. Okay, so yeah. Okay. Yep, that hasn't been looked at by our team yet, but they are scouring the issue tracker and they are putting new things in there, so I'm really happy to add that. So let's see, what else can we talk about while we're here? Please feel free to drop questions in to all as well. I'm really otherwise I'm going to rant on the side, so you really don't want that to happen. Oh yeah, it is a holiday in Shanghai. Actually, it's more than a holiday in Shanghai at the moment. They're all in lockdown again, but several of our staff are working from home. High quality photos in the view are still missing. We actually have a feature for this. There is a hidden feature for this, which is not the right way to handle it. We could probably expose that one a bit better. We have a system that's in there right now that can do high-res photos. We used it for print advertisements a while ago, and for that, it sort of takes them at a 4 or 8 times resolution to what you have. It will require a pretty beefy graphics card, but if you've got that, then yeah, we do into the normal snapshot window, I think. Right now, to do it, there is a special object that you need to grab out of the shop, and if you button, it'll. I know that is not a good way of doing it, so us adding proper support for that one's a good idea too. Is there an issue tracker on that one too? I will have a hunt for it. I think I've got a copy of it in my inventory here. Yes, I've got a copy of it here. I can give you it, but I can't remember what the key combination it relies on is. It uses a hidden undocumented script function to work. And it's actually called Special Screenshot Cube, but I don't think it might be in the shop right now. But I can give copies of it out. I can talk to you guys if you want. Just mail message, and I'll reply back with a copy of it. Right, but is there an issue tracker ticket number on that one? Because that would be something else that I can bump. If not, feel free to report it, and I can let me know that later. Yeah, because that's where all our work gets logged. In fact, I can talk a little bit about that too. There's one of our new project managers, the other Adam in the company, who's in the Discord as what is it? It starts with a G.
Adam Glimp.
Yeah, that's not his actual Discord name though. He was in the Scripters channel a while ago. He was the one who did the Wordle clone in the. He's one of our new project managers. He's been putting together a big document which has got all the features people requested over in our issue tracker that we haven't done so far. And right now, the community team, you guys have been prioritized with prioritizing that list. We've got a lot of things to talk about. In fact, there's probably no harm in even. I guess we want to do a quick scan of it first. Because we are doing a prioritization at the moment, exercise on what we can put together. doing sort of a cost benefit now, all of these bits and pieces, and choosing which ones we're going to prioritize in our releases, because we do have some major stuff coming up at the moment. The team is working on the Unity 2020 upgrade, getting that out the door. That's the big thing at the moment, as well as a shift on one of our streaming provider systems, another one, and we're also working on which will mean that's another thing that we're working on. But besides that, we are looking for other tasks that people have asked for, and that list of features is an absolute goldmine for us. Every time you submit a tracker, do be aware it is actually read. It just may take a little while. Prioritization. All right, so guys, please keep peppering me with questions. Otherwise, I can talk a little bit about what we're working on next. Your call. I have. Yep. Yeah, there's two answers to that question. There is the official, according to our project tracker, answer, and there is the realistic, how long will it really take to get out the door answer. The official answer is that we are working on a monthly release cadence. That is just releases working on parallel in the background. Each release has got a 2-month development cycle. That is the official answer. The unofficial answer is that as we've been whacking more and more bugs lately in each release, and as I said, we must have done about 3,000 in this last big release. The team has been getting, but even still, because we are tracking.
Up again, Adam.
Damn it! This is terrible. This is why we want to get off Vivox.
I know.
The next version that we're doing, the one that we're releasing next week, has a newer version of Vivox, so hopefully that'll be better. I've actually run a quick experiment. I'm just going to do something, and I want you to tell me if I break up again. I'd really like to know this, actually. You guys keep that going. All right, so anyway, where was I getting before I was talking about release cadence? So yeah. Yeah. Yep. So the actual answer to that question is that because these releases have more and more fixes in them, it actually delays them, because every time we do a fix, we have to actually restart the testing cycle, because sometimes a fix causes a new problem, and that means that we've got lots and lots and lots and lots of bug fixes in a release. It can slow it down. The next couple of releases, I would be estimating that we're probably on a 3-month release cycle, probably reasonable 3-4 months, and that's because these new releases are getting retested over, keeping that sort of, trying to get the quality bar really, really high.
Breaking up again, Adam.
Okay, that did not fix it. I was really, really hoping it did. Look, I'm happy to move to chat if I'm breaking up too much to answer these questions properly. Appointment. So anyway, 3-4 months is probably the answer that is more realistic. But we do operate on a when it's done policy now, so that means when it passes all of its testing. So I've got a lot of questions now. So let me answer these in order. Would changing voice systems make my IT people happier? They hate Vox. Yeah, we do too. At least at the moment. However, the high fidelity system is simpler. It only uses a single port, but it does use a range of IP addresses. It shares it though with many other things. It's running on 443. I think that for the most part it should be relatively firewall the way it works. That said, though, it's really something you test and see. We do have some issues with high fidelity quality at the moment in the desktop that are blocking it from release, and I don't know when that's going to get fixed. We're dependent on Unity doing a fix there. The audio system, we are actively investigating, and it should make life easier. Would it be possible to get more visibility into the upload processing server chain? The answer to that one is yes, I think we can, but it also might be going away. I've teased this before, but it is something that's coming. We have been working on getting away from needing to do processing entirely. We won't be able to drop 100% of content in the first couple of releases of what we're working on, but we will be able to make it fairly instant. Until then, maybe we can give more visibility. It's a little bit difficult to give lots of details on that one. I would love to be able to get the log files out and show you guys because they can be really useful using my failed. But at the same point in time, the system is highly asynchronous. It involves sort of a messaging system that generates tasks, and those tasks go on run on a node, and the node reports back when it's done. We don't have a lot of intermediary status checks, but it is possible potentially for us to add some. But I think that it may be wasted effort trying to get rid of the processing system. All right, so let's see, what else have we got? Question from Helene about Curator Silver becoming usable. Yeah, this is a really overdue one. I'm sitting on a mountain of silver, and I know our content creators are sitting on one. So the answer to that is we were planning on doing it as part of a big update to the shop, and that big update to the shop really depends on us building up the user audience a little bit, or being so. We did a lot of work in that. Look, let me think about that one a little bit more. I don't have a firm answer for it right now as to the exact date as to when, but I think it is worth us prioritizing that before we start doing the big consumer planning on starting. And once that happens, we do need to have these systems in place. There may be some short-term stuff we can do, though. I think that we will have to consider that one a little bit. So I need to talk a bit. Maybe next time I come, we can ask that one again, and I'll have an answer. All right, so let's see here. What else have we got? We've got an update wizard be planned to use a launcher instead of doing it through the website. Yeah. I actually wrote one. I wrote one about a year ago, and then Eric, one of our lead engineers, came and wrote a better one. Eric's one is, I think, almost ready to go. We've had a couple of issues with cross-platform compatibility, but I don't know why we didn't actually launch the version we've got, at least for people. That was an automatic updater. It did have sort of the usual sort of launcher. All things fire.
Again, Adam.
Damn it. I have to stop.
Very frustrating.
One has to interrupt me every 5 minutes and little. So the answer to that one is that yes, we do have a launcher in progress. I'm going to check the status on that one because it is something that we have done a lot of work on, and I have off my radar where we were sitting with it. All right, so let's see. Next questions. Right. New avatar dressing room. Could we add lighting options? Yeah, we could. In fact, that would be really easy to do. There's no problem at all with it. Very quick, simple thing to do, so please just track it. It might be the viewer I'm on, but I think it's not. It seems to be that this happens to be a lot. We will have to see. I'd say maybe the next version of Evox will fix it for me, but I've also it's coming for like 2 years now, so let's be. Hopefully, I will be able to do it another way. So maybe we'll use Agora or something for the next most quality thing. All right, so let's see what else we have. Who else has some questions for me?
Adam, regarding the future of Sinespace, what do you think of the Unreal Digital Humans and the Unity equivalent versions, and how will that affect our avatars?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. It's a great question. The thing about those digital humans is that they're very impressive render-ready models that are barely real-time. And I say that respectfully, they are very impressive bits of work, but for the most part, there's not that much technical sophistication to the systems in question. They've got some very pretty shaders on them. They're doing a lot of work. They've got very, very high detail models. That is to say that many of those digital humans are sort of in the 20 million poly count. They are not appropriate for real-time use. And you see this because when you look at things like Unreal's digital human, MetaHumans is their one, you'll see that it runs in a web browser because it's using a remote machine to render it. And that remote machine that's rendering it in the background has got an $8,000 graphics card, which is the only way it can actually render. So we're keeping an eye on it. It's very, very cool what $8,000 graphics cards can do, but when you want to put 50 or 100 of those in a scene, it's just not going to work. As pretty as they are, it's going to fall apart. We will get there. We are a couple of years away from those $8,000 graphics cards being a $200 graphics card. It does seem to be that they do drop in price over time, and there is a bit more heat in the graphics market than there last decade at the moment. But they're not quite ready to go. That said, though, there is some very, very clever tricks that are being worked on in parallel that may give us many of those features. There's a technique called NERF, N-E-R-F, neural radiance fields. And they're doing some very interesting stuff with static non-animated objects to get extremely high quality that is not performance impacting in the same way. I think that it's possible that we could be looking at some systems which sort of merge that with sign distance fields to generate sort of real-time, high-quality avatars. It's an area that needs a lot of research and R&D, but something to be done. And we will see some of that coming down the pipe for what we're doing, probably in a few years' time once the technology. Until then, though, what we will be doing is we will be improving our base avatars. That will get us probably 75% of the way there. And the remaining sort of 25%, which is really sort of getting to the photo real point, that will depend a little bit on a combination of both new techniques and quality hardware becoming generally available. So in terms of Unity's one, it's the same answer. Unity did a very impressive demo recently called Enemies. They launched it on their YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago, and I encourage you to check it out. However, that one again is the same story. The graphics card sitting in that used for that render was a 3090 Ti, which is a 3,800 card, expensive one, and there was only one character visible. And that means that when you've got lots and lots of avatars in the scene, it's clearly that it won't scale large scale multi-user stuff. Interesting, and we're keeping an eye on it, but let's probably don't get too excited too quickly because it's not quite ready yet.
Another thing that crops up in relation to avatars is the use of custom avatars and the fact you can't easily, if at all, get our outfits onto those custom avatars. Is there anything in the future that we can do to allow the existing shop be accessible to people with custom avatars, not just Sinespace avatars?
Yeah, this one's actually, it's somewhat a commercial choice, but it's actually a commercial choice rooted in being friendly to creators. We can support that to some degree. If you notice that we've got things like character morphs that let you really morph the character in quite extreme ways. In fact, I can do it sort of now, but you guys have all seen some of the morphs that are in there. We can make that morph system a little bit better. There is actually one more feature I want to add there for skeleton modification, which will make that one even better for this kind of thing. It's preferable for us for everyone to be morphing off the base avatar, because it means that as a creator, you really only need to be testing against avatar. You only need to test and you know that every variation with. When we got custom avatars, there's too much room for stuff to break. And that's a real problem, because it means that creators now no longer have to work with one avatar. They may end up having to work with 5, 6, or 20, or however many become popular, and that's an issue. So that is something that we want to sort of make sure that we don't incentivize the wrong behaviors, because if we do enable that one in a bad way, then it will work for everyone. That's not useful work. It's
I was thinking more along the lines of could there be anything that could auto fit a custom avatar to the Sinespace avatar to make it conform to the
is potentially doable. Yeah, that actually might be doable. We would need to do a bit of R&D on that one, but it's an interesting concept, and I think it could work for at least basic humanoids anyway. Mostly interchangeable.
That'd be great.
It would be. All right, so there's a couple more questions here. Will there be any integration with Replay Me, etc.? Answer to that one is no. I think, or at least for the moment, don't quote me forevermore. We may change our minds on some things, but the short answer for that one is that it would result in a rather degradation of where we want to go. Our avatar system at a technical level is far superior to what they offer, and it sort of changes the dynamics in the marketplace that everyone is using those avatars. Then one, there's no incentive for creators to build custom content on the platform. Second reason is basically means they get reduced to their avatar system. That means if their avatar system doesn't support something, there's no chance of it being supported. We really want to align the creative incentives to make sure that users get the best experience possible and creators have the best. That's really the main objection we've got there. Next question is, will a system of replacement avatars be an option? Do you want to see sort of have avatars swap out to a chosen fallback when the avatar is over a certain quality? Say that might have too many polygons or too many bones or whatever the case may be. The answer to that one is yes. We actually have already been working on that one. It's something that we do have a hidden feature that supports it already. In that particular case, it's chosen by the region owner rather than used to upload specified fallback avatars for users, and that replaces the sort of grey loading man or the blue loading man or whatever the loading. It replaces those, and that basically allows us to swap in and out the high quality avatars, the low quality avatars. And when you've got a scene with 1,000 avatars in there, it is something that we have. We are at the moment looking into adding that into the window, so you choose and customize your own low detail avatar. That will actually still allow you to have some degree of customization. It won't be sort of back. Be able to do things like pick up the color of clothing and swap. Use hand length. Will be part of that particular. That is an official thing. That's probably coming down the pipe fairly soon, because it is essential when we add thousands of avatars into a region. We need to make that experience be a good experience that we do. All right, let's see. Next questions. Could we support attachments on custom avatars? Yes, this one is something we potentially can do if they're rigged as humanoids. If they're rigged as humanoids, then we've got a fairly standard set of components, and it could be possible for us to add that feature. I will need to think through the commercials of that one a little bit. Again, like I talked before, I don't want to create perverse incentives for the wrong things when we do this, because I do have a fairly long-term vision of where we're going to be going. Making in of a difficult course to change. It is something that potentially could do. All right, let's see. Next one. Can we get sailable water with waves? Yes, a creator can make that one. You just need to tag it as a water zone, and it will work with the vehicles that use the water system. So yes, answer to that one, yes, you can. Creator who's upload a simple water sheet, hard one to do. So that. Yes, this is an interesting question. Again, this has got a couple of commercial overlays because we obviously don't want to completely bypass the break room business. That said, there may be some options there. We have been looking at things like making a URL handler that can handle things better. We've already got one in place, but it's not good. When we add that in, that is something that will make that better. That might give you some options there. But I think for the full guided experience of sort of predefined landing regions and so forth, you've really looked into the break what they're doing and have built their system to do. I know they are working on some lower price options as well. Education. All right, let's see. Next questions we've got. If the things are related to content complexity, can you just get a hint that that bit of content is going to be problematic? Ooh, this is an interesting question. Potentially. But it is also kind of hard. We can measure it in certain circumstances, so we can isolate the content ourselves. Whether we can do that in the viewer is a little bit more of a question mark. I don't know, unless we slow down content loading to make it easier to isolate bits of content. Because, for instance, say you've got 2 bits of content loading in the same frame. The frame is taking forever to load it. How it was. Interesting question. Potentially, it could be done. The other side of that coin is that it can also create witch hunts. We really don't want to enable that kind of behavior where particular creators or content problem. We would much rather catch that in the review phase, or better yet, catch it in the viewer and handle the goal. So showing which bits of content are causing problems feels like it's the wrong problem to me. Not necessarily saying that wouldn't be a useful solution to the problem. I think it would be better for us to focus on just trying to fix that class of problem entirely. But it is definitely an issue, and we do acknowledge it, and it is something that we're actively working on at the moment. Okay, question about can we have custom titles? Yeah, look, it's actually, I think, if I remember correctly, this particular release that's coming has the ability to do display names, among other things. That isn't quite the same as custom titles, but it is a step in the right direction. Actual support for custom titles, though, isn't actually too hard for us. The only reason that we didn't do that is because we've always had the idea of sort of making the title system something that is memorable, kind of like achievements are in games. In fact, they are tied to our old achievement system, in that you earn new titles by doing cool things. But I do take the point that custom titles actually might be people want, and maybe it is something maybe we'll do something like have colored titles. Yeah, I think that's something that if you put an issue tracker ticket in, I think we can take that one to the community team and we'll have an internal discussion about it and what the right approach is. All right, so what else we got here? And yes, you do have the ability to change your display. Okay. All right. Have I answered everything? Have we got any other questions here? I'm going to take that as a no. Surely someone else said something. Our update is going to be automatic in the new viewer. Oh, sorry, I did miss that one. The viewer itself, no, but if we do the launcher, yes. The launcher has an automatic update mechanism. The updates are a lot smaller too. It only updates the changed files, so the updates tend to be only a couple of megabytes at the very biggest. A bit easier. That one, I need to check with Eric on just to get the status of that, because we were working on it, and I know we converted into doing things, but it was nearly done, so it might be something that we can release The only caveat with it is that right now it builds off the nightly viewer, so it automatically updates into the very latest test viewers, which may not be a good idea. They are getting a bit more stable than they used to be, but they're still not something I recommend everyone uses. Yeah. All right. Other questions? You got me for 5 more minutes, so so feel free to. Yeah, just. Well, thanks. There's been a bit of a sort of a refocusing since about May last year. We've been doing a lot of sort of re-engineering of sort of how it works. We've been getting bigger, and that's been causing problems. We've also had a lot of competing pressures with Breakroom eating up a lot. Really trying to sort of shift more resources back as much as I can. I think that this year it should make people pretty.
Cutting out, Adam. 5-second pause.
5-second pause. Right, sorry guys. I really do apologise for this cutting out. It's absolutely terrible. We need to do something about it. But yes, since about May last year, we've been doing a lot of reprioritising, and we're really trying to push more resources into Sinespace. And this year, I think will make people fairly happy. We've got a lot more resources potentially coming down the pipeline, particularly by about August, September, expecting to expand our team. Very excited about, but I've been sort of stuck doing budgets for the last couple of months. And, very glad to be done with that. I actually got to write the first code I have in months over the weekend, and I'm quite excited to get back into that. So yes, it is something that we are looking to improve on. And yes, the issue tracker has gotten a lot of love in the last year. We have been doing a lot of work on making sure that we address every issue that comes in there. I will give one hint there as well. The F5 reports, right now you don't get replies to those because they all get submitted through a sort of a public user account in our issue tracker that only we can see the tickets from. Moving forward, we are making a change, and it will be in a viewer update. It won't be the one next week, but it will be an update sometime soon. And that update will let you report using your own username, so you'll be able to track your own tickets as well. When you file a ticket, you can actually see staff members pick it up and. Final question, since we've got 2 minutes left. Would a system of how costly your avatar is to others be possible in the dressing room? Just something to help people know not to wear certain heavy items together. Possible. We have a system for it. Again, we've been really hesitant here, and this is one of those design decisions because we've got an imperfect technical solution at the moment, and it's sort of a question if we show that statistic, it may not always be relevant. That is to say that how heavy an item is actually depends a little bit on the platform you're on as well. So for some users with heavy computers, for example, rendering cloth physics is no problem. Cloth physics is perfectly performant. Users on lower-end computers, though, cloth physics is more of a problem. So in the dressing room, do we show it as if it's going to cause problems, or do we show it as if it doesn't cause problems? It seems to me the better answer is actually to be able to have the settings in users' computers adjust automatically to whether that feature is enabled entirely or not. And I think that's the better long-term solution. Now, there's a question of if I'm letting the perfect be the enemy of good, and we should be showing some kind of thing. I don't mind the idea of adding maybe an indicator that's a red, green, yellow is not a bad idea. I think that's actually probably a good solution because it means that people aren't comparing scores. They're not yelling at other saying score is a problems. I really don't want to get into that particular issue, and I really don't want to show what other avatars have. Showing just yourself is probably okay. Maybe the social barrier that encourages you to have simpler avatars, but at the same time, I also don't want to limit people's flexibility in here. one of the things that we do want to pride ourselves on is user customization and user flexibility. And with that in mind, sort of feels like that might be discouraging people. So I think that this may be more of a question saying, can we add more performance options inside the client, more settings that allow you to hide too complex avatars or too complex content and handling it that way. I don't know whether that's a better solution. Yeah, interesting question. I think one that, again, it'd be worth talking about more. I'm happy to pick that one up on Discord at a later date. But unfortunately for now, I'm going to have to fly. I have another meeting that unfortunately I cannot avoid, so I'm going to jump across there. But it was good speaking to you all, and I will be back again sometime in weeks and for these comments that I've sort of deferred.
Well, thanks for coming along, Adam. I'm sure everybody appreciates that, and I'll be booking you for the next 2 or 3 weeks' time, I should think.